Now, broadcasting on Radio Star Worldwide, it's time for Dr. Rademaker's Prescription for Transformation. Let's tap into your own authentic genius and live the life you desire.
You are now listening to...
Join Dr. Rademaker for an enlightened conversation about our brain intelligence, our body intelligence, and our energy intelligence. And now, here's your host, Dr. Bart Rademaker.
Welcome, and welcome again. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, and Real Success. You know, and as I'm developing my own coaching program and all sorts of really cool things that I've learned over the years, you know, it's amazing the new insights and the new information that I constantly get. And today is exactly that as well. In particular, because there's so many misconceptions of who we are, what our identity is, and where do we fit in the social construct that we've actually only just created in our own minds, but isn't really the true reality of life. And in particular, when it comes to women in business. And unfortunately, you know, when we can't deliver the best of ourselves in the environment that we live in, we have to ask ourselves, you know, what's stopping us? What's preventing us? And more importantly, who's that person or persons that can help us get the breakthrough that we need? And today is an exciting day because I know that I'm going to be learning a lot. I know I'm of a different gender, just so we're clear on that. But certainly, you know, from her own personal experience as a woman, how to get the breakthroughs and how to develop the life that one desires in business and in personal. So I want to welcome Tanya Conner Green from the Wholehearted Business Coaching Program. I love that name. I think that's awesome. Because
thank you.
And I just want to say this, because too often there's this misconception that you've got to be tough, you've got to be hard, you've got to be all these things to be successful in life, particularly as a woman, to overcome, you know, the let's say the male gender role, if you will, which I think that's also misconceived as well. And I can tell you this from my own personal experience, that one of the best and most awesome surgeons I ever met was a woman, and she was one of the gentlest person I've met as well. So Tanya, thank you so much. And I'm eager to hear your insights so that people can learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited that you love the name of my business coaching business, I guess, and that you see the other side of it, because I think that, you know, some people that are guys are kind of oblivious to the fact that it is we are taught to be more hard and stuff like that in corporate, at least. Right. When I was working in a corporate job, certainly I only worked with men. I was the only woman. So definitely we are like surrounded by that. And it's definitely a conversation that has come up with us a lot when I was working full time.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your personal background and some of the challenges that you had to overcome. Because I think that's a wonderful reference point for people to appreciate. Look, they're not alone. I mean, you went through that. And in my opinion, I think that oftentimes some of our best teachers are the ones that actually, you know, went through that minefield, whatever that minefield is. And I know that Sedona, my wonderful producer, is walking through minefields every single day. No, that's not true. But so I'm going to be putting Sedona on the spot today, because she is the woman. She's an entrepreneur. She is a businesswoman. And so I'd love to have her participate, because last time she was really quiet.
I would love that too. And by the way, I do have some male clients. I just target more women. So I definitely have worked with men. I started out working with men, and it's not something like I just don't target them in my marketing.
Right.
Because I think that there's like a really beautiful women's empowerment movement, and it's kind of nice to like tap into that and like be vulnerable. Then again, I think that men could really benefit from being more vulnerable in business. And because we've been, you know, it's been knocked into us not to be emotional in business, but I kind of think that you have to follow those feelings a little bit when you're in business.
Right. You know, I think on both sides of the coin, and not to get, you know, political or judgmental in any way, I think we all can learn. And but what I think what's particularly important, and I'm sure that you'll agree with this, is that we have to stop taking that victim role. We have to, stop pointing the fingers and ask ourselves, what is our role in this, and what is it that we can do more from a generative, collaborative way. And so, and find solutions. And I think that's what's great about what you get to do with your clients is, you're not performing therapy on them. You're helping them find real-time solutions that empower them. Because I think there's, in my personal opinion, I mean, being a guy, and there's nothing more attractive and sexy than an empowered woman, a smart woman. And that comes in many different forms. Let me be clear on that. I mean, you don't have to have a business to be empowered. I mean, it's somebody who owns, who they are. And I think moms are just as important as CEOs of major companies or politicians.
Oh, definitely. And they don't get paid.
And they don't get paid. Yeah. And so they're as important as the regular CEOs or politicians. But I do want to ask you, if that's okay, if this is, legitimate ground to work on. I mean, what were some of tough spots or tough challenges that got you to where you are today?
So when I was working in a corporate job, because I worked in insurance, like corporate commercial insurance, when I first started, I was surrounded by men. And like the last job that I had, it was all men. So it was me, a young girl, and a lot of other men that were all older. They were all 50 or older. And I, was amongst that. And people just kind of don't give you the same sort of respect or feel like you know as much or can do as much or have decision-making power. I think they kind of just assume that you don't.
Right.
And that your opinions don't matter, especially being young. Also, people would say, well, like you don't have enough experience for this. Except that the thing is, when you're young, you're much more eager. You want to learn. I am notorious for asking a billion questions. And so I always have a next question because I want to know, where that comes from, how they came to that decision. Like if there was another way around that, is there a better way to do that? Is there another way that we could have, if you can be more creative about it, whereas like that was like an old boys club. So in like commercial insurance is an old boys club, kind of like advertising or one of those that people are more familiar with. And so they've been set in their ways to do it a specific way. And so somebody coming in and being like, well, can we be a little bit more creative about this? Kind of shakes things up a little bit.
Well, how did you get in that spot in the first place? I mean, being young and a female and old boys, close to senility stage, right?
Yeah. And like, that's a big problem in insurance actually, is like, everyone's like going to be retiring and then there's going to be this gap. But I think that's going to be most industries because of like the baby boomers. But, my family was in insurance. So when I worked there in the summer times, I was like, wow, like people get paid to do this because you schmooze a lot of people when you're like, it's about relationship building. And so you schmooze a lot. You take people out to lunches and dinners and to like sports events and things like that. So as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, you're like, oh my God, this is the best job ever. I could get paid to go for dinner and lunch. Like, this is amazing. But when you get a little bit older, it doesn't sound so amazing when you're like, I just want to go home. Like I spend so many hours here. I don't want to do this anymore. And so I kind of got out of the feeling of this is amazing. And I felt like it was kind of a drag that I had to go to a restaurant every single day for lunch. So I was like, I don't really want to do that. And then you start to see all these things you didn't see before, which are like when you have an opinion and you're young, you get a bunch of pushback. I've definitely been called insubordinate.
But let me ask you this question, and I want to ask Sedona if she has a similar experience. And I learned this a while back, and unfortunately, being in the personal development field for the last 20 years, learned a lot of things, and especially when it came to my own kids. They're all grown right now. But what I understood that, with my children was it was difficult to impart to them my beliefs or insights on certain things at the, let's call it intellectual level that I was at, or maybe just the frequency. It better said the frequency that I was at versus theirs. I mean, they were all into video games and all that kind of stuff, and I had no time for that. And I realized that I wasn't really connecting with them until I started talking about video games. And it was just that I started using the same language. So I'm wondering if part of the problem is I'm just curious to hear what you think, is it possible that just because you speak different languages and because these older gentlemen just didn't understand your perspectives, that they then automatically say, well, let's call it because she's young and a woman, and not really, that wasn't really the issue, is they just didn't have a clue what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could definitely be it. I'm sure that I speak very quickly and I think very quickly and I do things like very quickly. So I think that could also, I'm always just trying to think of what's the creative solution to this. And I had a really amazing boss when I first went into my business, and he would always say to us, I'm not going to give you the answer because I want you to come up with your own opinion. So I would ask questions about different areas that maybe we were overlooking, or that I was like, oh, what about this area? Have we thought about that? Or what are you doing about this area? Kind of looking at the whole picture, and maybe because I didn't know better, I didn't know what to look for. I was looking at every aspect of it. Whereas maybe they would just say oh, we don't need to worry about those things, right, like climate change.
Yeah, exactly. So
right. No one wants to talk about climate change in insurance. So I was like, but isn't that important?
Well, I think part of the problem too is when it comes to all these touchy subjects like climate change, right? I think what happens, and I'm always very reserved in giving any opinion for one reason only, is I don't have all the facts. And I think it's easy for us to jump on some sort of wagon and say, well, this is what's true, when we really don't know. And
totally,
it's interesting when you hear one scientist say one thing, and then you say, oh yeah, great, that makes a lot of sense. And then you hear somebody else say the exact opposite. So it's tough. Mm-hmm. And I think when people are not being authentic in their discourse, because they have a very particular agenda, and what that's like, and especially in the business that you're in, then it can get very confusing. But I want to ask Sedona a question, because I always respect the fact that where she comes from and her experiences, and you've had this very special relationship, with your dad. And would you say that, he was someone that really was able to connect with you because he was using the same language you're using?
I would say that I'm a big advocate for you have to know the rules to break the rules. And that's something that I've just been kind of taught my whole life. And so I think it's one of those things where I learned about things that my parents were interested in, and they did the same thing for me. And that helps in all of my business relationships, all of my work relationships, all my friendships. Everything is a give and take, and you just have to learn from both sides. And fortunately, to the point that you were just making, I'm a journalist, so that's my whole job, is to learn all about the truth and learn everything. And even though we don't get to have opinions on stuff, it kind of helps people find their opinions on it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least it's good that she's a journalist and doesn't think she should have an opinion, because there are definitely journalists that do have an opinion and share it very openly.
Well, you know what? Let's be honest about journalism too. I mean, it's kind of hard not to have opinions. I mean, we all come from different backgrounds, and you feel strongly about certain things, and you get passionate about certain things. But in that world of journalism, and truly your job is to be as objective and give the facts, and hold your own sentiments aside, because then it's about you and not about us. But I want to get back to you, Tanya, and what was that point where you said, okay, I've had enough of this, right? I can see the problems that someone like myself experiences, and I want to hear what those problems were that then inspired you to move forward and do what you do now.
So I think that it was a bunch of things. It wasn't really just one thing. It was work. It was personal. It was all different, where I was in my life, that where it got the wheels turning, and I started thinking more about what my life was going to look like in the future, because I turned 25 and I pretty much blew up my life, because I'm it was basically a quarter life crisis, because you're out of school, you've been working a little bit for a while, and you're thinking to yourself, is this what my life's going to be like forever? or at least I was thinking that. I was like, is this going to be forever?
Right.
I'm going to go to work like this every day, work really hard to pay for this apartment that I'm never in, and can't go on vacation because, you know, I only have 10 days vacation. Can't use it all at once either. Not allowed to do that. And it's like these people, like this, what I'm doing right now is going to be like for the next 40 years of my life. And it didn't sit well with me. I didn't feel like what I was doing meant anything. It didn't make my life or like my purpose on this planet feel important. Like I wasn't doing anything good for the world. I was just making a corporation richer by working really hard. And then I was like making money to pay for this apartment I never lived in and like party. You know, that's really what I was doing, was like partying with my friends. So I used to go to therapy and be like, I don't understand. Like, I don't want to drink anymore. Like, I don't want to party anymore. Like, there's something wrong with me.
Right.
And my therapist would say, there's nothing wrong with you. And I would be like, but why? Everyone else wants to party. And I think I was just looking at it like, I want to have more meaning. I want to do more things with my life during my life. There were a lot of things I wanted to do. And so, And so when I was like starting to think about that, I would look at people that were older than me at my job and think, do I want to be like that person? Not really. Like, you know, I don't want my life to look like that. And so I started to think about, I also had another part of this is I also had a friend who was an entrepreneur. He was the only entrepreneur I'd ever met in my life.
Right.
I thought like those were like for special people. And I wasn't that person. I was like, I'm not special. There's nothing that like, I'm like, no, I'm not a genius of some sort. Like I don't have like some invention in my mind, you know, I don't know. So I was like, that's not me. And then when I saw him and he was like creating this online business where they used to like write, there was like a writing business, like a copywriting business. And so he used to have so much freedom and he could do whatever he wanted and worked whenever he wanted. And I was like, oh my gosh, you can do anything you want. He called me at work one day and was like, let's go snowboarding. I have 10 days vacation. I can't just take a day off to go snowboarding because it's nice outside. Like that's just not my life. So it again added another layer on to me being like, this is not what I want to do. Like, I want to like travel. I want to like see the world. I want to meet people. I want to have fun in other ways that are not drinking. I want to like be outside when it's sunny. I live in Toronto. It's really cold here most of the year. So I want to go outside if it's sunny. I mean, we have hot spots. Why do I have to sit at this desk with no windows?
Right.
So I just really didn't want that to be my life for the next 40 years. So I started to think about what I could be doing. And I started getting like, trying different things. Like I did a yoga teacher training and I have a fear of public speaking. So that was really not a good idea.
Which shows right now, by the way, I know you're fearful to be on the show right now. I get that.
Well, I mean, this is something I had to like learn with time. I think to like even go on video was a big deal that I would have told you 3 years ago. I would never go on video. Not a chance. That I would never do a podcast. Not a chance. I couldn't do that. But I think that with time, you realize that there's something bigger than you that you have to share. Like I have something. So I went on an Italy trip and somebody on the trip said to me, Tanya, what you're doing right now by not speaking in public, by not sharing your opinions, by not helping people that you could be helping, you're basically masturbating your gifts. You're basically pleasuring yourself with everything you know, all the education you have, all the experience you have, all the things that you have inside of you that could help someone. You're just keeping them to yourself. You're just pleasuring yourself with them.
Right.
And that really connected with me where I was like, oh, yeah, that is true. Like I could help people with this stuff. I could be doing something that could make someone's life better or happier or easier or more fun. And if I just keep that to myself, then how does that make me feel?
You know, one of the things that I think is so important in life, you know, and I've never heard of this quarter life crisis. I think it's awesome. You know, I think it's more of an awakening rather than anything else. And because I haven't even gone through a midlife crisis, so I don't even know what that is. But the truth is, it's about that awakening. And you know, I'm reviewing my own vlogs as well. We're talking about 6 human needs, something that Tony Robbins talks a lot about. And our 6 human needs are certainty, variety, love, connection, significance, growth, and contribution. And the growth and contribution are those more of the spiritual needs that really allow us to have a much happier existence as we grow and as we contribute. And so what's important for us to really enjoy a lot of that fulfillment that's available to us is contributing beyond self. And so I want to compliment you by having that recognition, because here's what's true. And this is part of the reason for this platform as well, is really to tap into the collective wisdom, as I call it, and develop what I call generative collaboration, because we all need help and all of us can help each other. And so why not help each other in a way that serves others? Because there's a statement that I've heard before, and, give somebody else what they need first and you'll get everything that you want yourself. And it's true. And from a coaching world, and you've probably heard this, how long are you going to wait to learn all the stuff that you must learn to help somebody else? And so that's awesome. I want to commend you for recognizing that. I mean, it took me a little longer, but then I was in the
I had some help.
You had some help, yeah. Well, my help came really late after I went to 35 years of training, 19 years in medical school, and so that's awesome. And what I think is really cool is that many of us are kind of pushed in a direction because our families or the important people in our life believe that it's the right thing for us. And that's probably what happened in your case, only to realize, no, that's not the life I want to live. I have a much grander vision of the world and what I can offer. And you had the courage, you have things against you, being a woman and being young. And so that's what I call power. And I want to compliment you that you took that role. And I know Sedona does it all the time, every time she's on my show, for sure. But I respect that. And I respect that in both you guys, that you said, look, this is what I want. I'm going to go after that. So how do you teach that? How do you help your clients, find that space? Because it can be really scary, because you told me one thing. You have a lot of arrows in your back. I mean, this is how I like to put it. You have a lot of people who will say no.
Oh my gosh. And I worked for my family. So they definitely were like, why would you leave? What do you mean? Why can't you just stay here and do that? Why do you need to leave this job? Because this is a safe and secure job. You'll have this. It gives you a beautiful life. Why would you leave it? The thing is that I kept saying, it came to a point where that's 8 hours of my day every day, and plus commuting an hour each way. So really that's 10 hours of my day every day. That's 10 hours that I could be using to help someone.
Yep.
That's why I can't stay here. So yes, it gives me a good life, but this will give me a better life, and it feels better, and I can help people and make a difference in the world. So how I help people is I work with them one-on-one or in a group setting. I also have some self-study courses, but it basically teaches you, one, to develop that confidence, the empowered ability to share your opinions, to know that you have a gift that can help people, and to also stand in your own power when people are coming at you, right? Because there are going to be a lot of them, and it doesn't really ever end, especially as you up level, as you go to the next level and whatever you're doing, there's still going to be people who are like, really? Do you really need to do that? Are you sure? Is that a good idea? Isn't that risky? And so there's always going to be people that don't get it, people that don't understand, but that's kind of what an entrepreneur does. It's we have to take the path that other people are not willing to take, or don't see it. They don't see the path that we see, or maybe we just create the path ourselves. So I think that, one, it's about knowing that you have a gift that can help people and really developing that and being really great at it, having the confidence to speak about it, get visible about it. Like me, doing video or podcasting or whatever, it's not the thing I went into coaching to do. I really wanted to work with people one-on-one, but you can only work with so many people one-on-one. So if I had a deeper desire to help people, was I being in service of the people that need help if I only work with people one-on-one?
Right.
No, because there are people out there that need my help and wouldn't be able to get it.
Right.
So following that service part of yourself is following the fact that you're here to serve. And if you're serving, is this to your benefit or is it to the world's benefit, right? Like if there are people out there that need your help, how can you provide it in a way that serves you and serves them? But not limiting yourself just to working with people one-on-one. So I work with them one-on-one, but I also work with them in a group setting. And what we do is there's the coaching aspect, which is like the asking questions, like figuring those things out within you. Because to be a boss, to be an entrepreneur, like you can't rely on me. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not here to babysit you, to tell you what to do every single minute, to like make you show up. No, I'm not a dictator. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to be here every minute of the day while you are being the boss of your business.
Right.
So it's empowering them to like have their own opinions, to show up, to be consistent, and to not need me every minute of the day to know what they need to do by like looking inside, by recognizing that like and trusting their own abilities, to developing their intuition, their gut instincts around business and their business and where they should go, what direction to go in. So there's that aspect of the coaching. And then I do some consulting where I actually show them how to do things. So I'll teach them how to set things up like systems. I'll show them how to set up an ad, how to create a funnel, like a sales funnel that nurtures people, how to use email marketing, how to do podcasting, things like that. So there's like that arm where it's very actually like me teaching something. But then the other aspect of it is that, developing that inner knowing, their ability to question themselves and to figure the answer out, like figure it out. You're an entrepreneur. You are the boss. You have to figure it out.
One thing I want to go to Sedona real quick because I promised I would do that. So Sedona, again, coming from a place of total respect and admiration because of not only of your age, but the kind of world that you decide to step into. How tough has it been for you with your peers who I think clearly, think differently than you do? And how has that worked for you or against you?
I've been really, really, really fortunate. People talk about how hard it is to work as a woman or talk about how young it is to work when they're young. And I have never, ever, ever hit that bump in the road yet. So I'm sure to be in for a nasty shock someday. Hopefully not.
Don't manifest that.
Hopefully not. But
actually, I hope you do, by the way, but go on.
I mean, there's good things that come of overcoming things like that. But I feel like for the most part, my biggest challenge has just been my industry itself. Journalism has been on the attack for almost forever, but recently especially. And a lot of people are starting. One of the biggest things that scares me is finding work after school. It's one thing to work in school because you have connections and you have things that you can get done. And that's kind of the purpose of going and learning. But post leaving your university, I'm finding every day somebody posts on Facebook how hard it is, how many times they've gone to job interviews and been rejected and yada, yada, this and that, things that everybody goes through. But it just kind of reflects the industry for me, and it makes me realize that I need to work a lot harder when I'm in school to find ways around that getting out of school. And I do think it's very competitive. There's not that many jobs, even though it seems like there could or should be a lot of jobs for us. There isn't. So definitely, I feel like I am always researching, always looking for new ways to do things. And a lot of my peers maybe aren't. They're looking at kind of into fields that we know are kind of dying, and things like AM/FM radio isn't doing so well right now, or even television news isn't doing that well right now, and just things that I'm just trying to look for things to go about that in the future, especially because who knows, there could be jobs that don't even exist now in 4 years. You kind of have to adapt and know how to go into those industries before they're even a thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, talking about things like Facebook and YouTube and the accessibility of sharing information by everyone. So, sharing information has been completely democratized. Almost allows the journalist to become redundant. But that's your opportunity, if I may say this, to create a new mindset or create a new model that people are going to want. And I'm happy to look into that at some point. But Tanya, you wanted to jump in. You wanted to say something. You were just like,
I just obviously being having the coach's mind on always. I was just thinking about like, how can you get around that? Like, how can you create your own job rather than looking for a job from someone else?
Right.
Yeah.
And something that I'm always looking into, and it's a challenge, but definitely research is always worth it.
Because like I was thinking, like, I don't know about you guys, but like I like listen to a lot of podcasts as my news.
Right.
Like daily podcasts like that present the news and a certain topic every day. And I mean, I love listening to the news that way. Like I'm not a big television watcher, so I wouldn't necessarily watch it on TV, but I would certainly like listen to it on a podcast, like when I'm driving, because then you can also get the journalist's opinion that you trust.
Right. See, and there's another part to it too, and news media, and not to jump into a whole discussion about news because we're going to move on in a moment. But it's a lot of it has been sensational and sensational for a reason, because you have to captivate the audience. So if you have a story that says, "Oh yeah, the fireman got the cat out of the tree and it was such a wonderful experience," nobody's going to listen to that. But looming hurricane, devastating entire state. I mean, yes, you're going to go for that. And unfortunately, that's the challenge that I think journalists have, because the truth is, and that's kind of sort of the reason I have this platform, is wouldn't it be fun to really tap into the positive? But that doesn't have much traction, unfortunately. Now with personal growth and the kind of work that you're doing, you're finding people that have specific problems. They have the awareness, they have the specific problem. They say, okay, great, I need help. And that's when they get to find you. So I have a question for you. And because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that when I'm coaching people, a lot of them kind of sort of alluded, as you alluded to earlier on, being the babysitter, they want answers. They want you to give them the specific resources and strategies to be successful. But one thing I've learned, and I want to hear your opinion about this, and I've learned this from Tony Robbins, is that 80% of your success is actually your psychology, and only 20% are the resources. And so it's more about helping your clients be resourceful versus giving them resources. So how do you manage your clients with that? And sometimes the pushback, I can tell you, 20% of the time, I think I got the pushback. No, I just want the answers. I don't want psychology. There's nothing wrong with me, sort of thing. So how have you managed that? And what's some of your solutions?
So I definitely get that a lot. They just want the answers. Just tell me what to do. But I think that they know, and I'm very open and I speak about it a lot. I am not here to give you the answers. And you use the perfect word, the perfect keyword that I would use with them is like, I'm here to help you learn how to be resourceful, not to give you everything. These are the things I will give you. This is how I can help you get in contact with people. Like I can teach you how to approach people like this, how to be resourceful, and who you need to figure out to help you, or what you need to do to help you, or how you can learn how to do something like this. But like at the end of the day, I am not going to be there with you every minute. If I coach you for the rest of your life, then I haven't done my job.
Right.
Like if I haven't made you into a boss, a leader, somebody who is self-sufficient on their own and doesn't require me to like tell them what to do, then I haven't, like, that's not what my job is. I'm not here, and then they can go to someone else. So I make it very clear from the beginning, like, this is what I will provide and this is what I won't. If you choose to work with me, you're choosing to work with me because you want to develop into your own boss and not just to go by what someone else is saying to do. Because I believe that books, for example, and I always use like diets because that's the easiest one I can always think about. Diets, like let's say we're doing Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers works for a lot of people. That's why it's so famous. But it doesn't work for everybody. And so if I were to say to you, like, I'm going to give you exactly the template that you're going to use for your business, and it's just going to work perfectly. It could, but it also could not.
Right.
And then you're going to be upset because I gave you something that didn't work for your business. And so I'm not here to give you exactly the answers that are going to be for you. I'm here to help you customize how you build your business and how you become a leader. So I kind of don't want to give them like a manual of like, this is what you do and this is how you'll be successful, because if I do, then it could work, it could not work. If I'm doing it one-on-one, that's different. But in a group setting, if I just give you follow these steps,
right,
and don't have to customize anything for you, who you are, your dream client and your business, the services that you offer, then people are bound to fail.
And you said two things earlier on, though, which actually is more in the realm of resources. And so I do want to spend a little more time on resources today, actually, because I think you said two things that are important. One is systems, and the other is visibility. And, one thing that I believe in is that for anybody to be exceptional and extraordinary in any kind of business, you've got to have systems and procedures in place. And so these are your routines, your habits, things that you consistently do to get the consistent results. And because it allows you that opportunity to improve on those systems to get even better results. But then I learned something else, and that to be totally extraordinary, then you also have to be able to do the exception. And so I think that's sometimes a challenge. So what are some of the processes that you help people with? Because I know one thing, you could have great psychology and you could be successful, but it's going to take a lot longer unless you have some really good systems in place. And then, of course, the problem is, which systems can you trust?
Mm-hmm. So number one, we create our own system. So like we'll use different software, but again, I'm kind of a control freak and also like not the most trusting person ever. So I, don't want to put all my eggs in one basket in all one software and then be left holding the bag when they go under, right? Like I don't know what's happening in that business. Like I'm not on their board of directors. I have no idea. So I want to make sure that like we're not only using one system, but we're creating our own and customizing it to what we need and what our desires are. So one of the things that I help them automate is things like the sales process. So a lot of people that are in my line of work and probably your lines of work don't really want to sell themselves. It's not everyone's favorite thing. I used to say that I didn't get into this business to be a salesperson. But if you're in business, you're in sales. So you have to just embrace that. You have to get good at sales because if you're in business, you're in sales.
Well, actually, if you're married, you're in sales too.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. I think that it relates to a lot of things. Like you have to, like, even with journalism, like I was thinking about, like, you have to be able to present yourself or present your opinion in a way that connects with people, that, sells the topic. So I think that the sales process is usually the number one thing that people want to automate, and it helps them, one, make more sales, two, help more people. Right. So you're limited by your time, but you can build a system that, one, like puts you in front of a person. For example, a podcast. Like you tape one podcast and then it can be listened to by many people. So that can be their first. We would probably send something to send them to the podcast, because typically people don't necessarily are searching for your podcast and just stumble upon it. So usually it comes through someone, they heard about it somewhere, right. They saw something about it. So we get that podcast in front of them using an ad or a blog or a collaboration of some sort, or a shout out, or something that you're using to get people to that one thing. That helps them get to know you, get to know your work, get to know what you do, your services, who you are. Because let's be real, we buy from people we like. And so then they they listen to some of your stuff, like they'll hear some of your stuff or read some of your stuff. Then they will take the next step. So we give them a next step always. People need to be told what to do next. So then as long as you include your next step, then that next step might be like joining your email list because they get something for free.
Right.
The next point would be something small that's paid. The next thing would be something medium that's paid until eventually they go to your higher end thing. So for example, I'll just use your podcast right now. So we might send an ad to your podcast or to a freebie for your podcast, which will then they'll listen to the podcast, get the freebie, do the activity, which will lead them to maybe joining your free Facebook group. From your free Facebook group, you might run a challenge, which might lead them to one of your small self-study programs,
right?
Which might, once they've done your self-study program, they're going to get a couple emails about, maybe your higher level mastermind. And then because they loved the self-study program, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do everything that he has. And then they join your higher end program, which might lead them to wanting to work with you one-on-one.
Right. Well, thank you for outlining my entire process. I'm going to sign off right now and work on it.
So basically that's kind of, and notice there, we didn't get on the phone with them once. Right. So we didn't have any personal time with them until probably if they were in your group program or your high level mastermind, you'd likely get to speak to them one-on-one at that point. But everything going forward, you don't even know that they're watching you. Right. So we build a system that does all of that for you. It's very strategic and it's very we go through it with research. It's well researched. We speak to real people to come up with what parts of it the people want. So we're giving them the things that they want and helping them get results quicker. And then they want more. So even if that was with plastic surgery, because I'm sure people do that with plastic surgery, they start with something small and then they trust you, they feel more comfortable and confident going forward and doing something bigger.
Yeah, no, spot on. And it's exactly, this mindset. I wouldn't say mindset, but this appreciation of the different steps to get the results. That's quintessential in getting somebody to be very successful in the business. And I think what happens way too often, particularly in the coaching industry, but I think in many other ones, and that people want to be, or have entrepreneurial spirits and want to build their service, their product, whatever it is, they're very passionate about it, but they don't have a clue as to all the steps that need to happen. And they're not willing to bridge that gap because they're so committed to their passion and excitement that they forget that it's a lot of hard work and a lot of commitment to time to get all those different pieces in, because you could have it 99% taken care of, but you're missing that 1% and you miss out entirely.
Mm-hmm. And I think that most people see social media and they think that that's how people are making money. And they don't realize there's a whole intricate system behind every single post that you see. There's a system, there's a reason behind all of that stuff. So you can still put out things that feel good and that you feel inspired to put out, but it all has to connect, right? I find a lot of people are putting things out that don't have any connection whatsoever. They're like, oh, I felt like sharing this. And then, oh, I felt like sharing that. That's great and all, but now you've confused your audience.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're like, I don't know, do I go to you because of this? Do I go to you because of that? What do you really do? I'm not really sure. It's not very clear. So I think that people on the outside see oh, I'm just posting on social media and that's what this other person is doing. And then that's how they're making money. No.
So let's talk a little bit about visibility though, because you brought that up and it's not something I've ever really talked about before on this platform and again, the talking about what this platform is all about, which is almost in contradiction to what you just said, by the way. And my platform is, what you don't know that you don't know, that's going to make the difference. And so my hope is with the diversity of talks that I have, that somebody can find their new prescription to change their life, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's coaching, whether it's just being a mom. And it's finding that one thing that really makes a difference. And so when it comes to visibility, you have some very specific views on that. And I'm guessing it came from your own reservations about being visible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So firstly, I would say that the like underlying thing about your podcast is that everybody's here to share a transformation. So like, I still think that it is connected.
Okay.
Like to help someone else transform. But some people have like literally no connection at all. So, you know, you do want to have some underlying connection there. And then visibility, yes. Like I never wanted to get visible at all. Like writing alone was like difficult enough for me to like share my own thoughts. And when I say visibility, I mean like for them to see your face. It's really easy to post pictures online of like other things, quotes and like scenery pictures and your friends, and like never actually post a picture of yourself or post a video of yourself. So the thing is, people are going to buy from you because they like you and they feel connected to you. So sharing vulnerably, sharing stories about yourself, though you might not see how that's related necessarily to your business, it's related to who you are. And if they feel like they get you or you get them because you guys have been through similar experiences, they're much more likely to want to work with you, to trust you, to want to get more or see more or read more or watch more of your content.
You know, it's interesting. You just totally described the format of this platform, because it's real people, it's authentic conversations. Because it's been my belief, particularly with all the issues that Sedona brought up with journalism today, and all the advertising on the internet, it's all behind a wall, and so you never really get to know who's really there. And so you're spot on when you said, look, when I have an authentic conversation, people can experience me, who I really am, and then connect with me. And if you're not being authentic, people are going to see that as well and choose not to connect with you. And that's why I was really excited 2 years ago when I was able to start doing this on Facebook and social media, to have these authentic conversations so that people get to meet you, they see you, they like you. And guess what? A lot of people won't like you or like me. And that's okay, because, you know, we are in a world of almost 7 billion people. So I think we all have enough people that we can connect with. So I know our time is up. I'm going to give you the last word, but I do have one question for you, is how do people find you? And then you get the last word.
Okay. So, they can find me on social media or on my website. So, on social media, I am Wholehearted Business Coach, all one word, WHOLEHEARTED, Wholehearted. Hope I spelled that right. Business Coach, on Instagram and Facebook. And then my website is wholeheartedbusinesscoach.com. Easy peasy. And yeah, I just think that definitely like showing who you are is how people are going to like you. And even if they hate you, who cares? You can't work with everybody. So that's okay. I don't want to work with everybody. I can't work with everybody. And so I want some people not to like me. And then the people that do like me are going to feel even more connected with me because I shared some of those like controversial topics or opinions or feelings.
You know, one thing I've heard over time, that when you're really successful, you're going to have more people being critical of you. And so that's actually a sign of success, because people don't like the fact that you're doing so well. So I really want to thank you, Tanya. I think what you're doing is amazing. I love the fact that you've carved out a very special niche that I think is important. And it's really about supporting people to live the life in the best possible way that they can, by helping them with that psychology and helping them with the resources and the visibility. So I really honor you and thank you. And obviously thank Sedona too. And I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, real people, real conversations, real success. And I say, tap into your authentic genius so that you can live the life that you desire. Tanya, Sedona, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Dr. Rademaker's Prescription for Transformation. Join Dr. Bart Rademaker live right here on Radio Star Worldwide each week, or on demand 24/7.
Bye. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really fun.
Awesome.